Hey everyone, Rich Monroe here with BNB Investing Group. Thanks for jumping on this week with us. BNB Investing Group kind of helps investors navigate the short-term rental model. Whether you're trying to do master lease strategy, buy properties, or manage properties, we help investors kind of grow a business to be scalable and to add multiple units. And so we're always looking for investors that want to jump on and are ready to take action. And so if that's you, feel free to reach out to me directly with a direct message and we can schedule a quick call and touch base and see what your goals are. But I've got one of our clients here today, Tameka Green.
Okay.
And she's gonna chat with us about her experience with getting set up with her short-term rental and getting it listed on Airbnb, starting to generate revenue. And we're kind of talk about her story, what her background is, and what her goals are with short-term rentals. And so, Tameka, thanks so much for jumping on.
Thank you
Yeah.
for having me.
All right. Awesome. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I have so first of all, I am a counselor by trade. I'm a substance abuse counselor, and mental health paraprofessional. That's my day job. So that's what I do every day. Then I have a nonprofit which piggybacks off of that because my nonprofit actually helps people who are homeless get homes, stay in rooms. I have a food bank, and I'm also a realtor. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
my
Okay.
background in a nutshell.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
definitely helping the homeless is an important thing as a real estate investor.
Mhm.
So that I'd love to hear more about that too, in terms of how we can possibly participate in that. Um,
Okay.
for those of you that are just jumping on, shoot in the comments for us. Let us know what city you're in, and I just want to make sure you can hear us okay as well. So just throw that in the comments real quick for us. And so, as a realtor, what's been your focus? Have you been mostly doing listing transactions, or on the buy side, or a combination?
I'm mostly on the listing side, and I mostly sell land to people who are trying to purchase, build, what have you. And it's mostly been for modular homes.
Okay,
So land, and I do have some listing on homes as well. Primarily, my listings are in Macon, Georgia. So yeah, but the land I've been selling like all around. So yeah.
okay. And so with the land, is it kind of just all over, or are you in particular, spots near amenities like lakes or mountains or stuff like that, or is it just kind of land in general?
It's just land in general.
Okay.
Just land in
And
general, yeah. So it's not in one specific spot or location. It's just like wherever they need the land. So I've been, helping and trying to find and sell that way.
got it.
Mhm.
Okay. And then what got you interested into trying to develop a business with short term rentals?
Well, because I was already doing rooming housing, with the nonprofit. Before it became a nonprofit, I was doing it for profit, and then I changed it to nonprofit. And then I just figured to just venture out and do something else with the Airbnb side of it. So that's basically what I wanted to do. So, and because it
Okay.
seems like I had the had already been doing the rooming houses. It's almost similar to Airbnb, except for it's just rooms, and I'm not using all the tools. So yeah.
Got it.
hmm
Okay. And what particular attribute, or how did you acquire your first property? What was it through?
I use ProMove actually. I asked the ProMove representative to help me find a unit that took corporate leases because I was having an issue on my own. Um, so like with my rooming homes, I started this back in 2012 with the rooming homes, and I was doing corporate leases in houses, corporate leases in apartments. But I don't know what happened from the time I stopped to the time I started back with the Airbnb. Nobody was taking the corporate leases so easily as they were back then.
Hmm.
So I went through ProMove, and because I remember I used them one time to find an apartment for myself, way back in the day. But I went to ProMove, and the representative at first he was like, "Well, they're not taking corporate leases if you're trying to do it for Airbnb." So because I do have the nonprofit behind me, I told him that wouldn't be strictly Airbnb, and I told him what I also do, and so he was like, "Okay." So he ventured out and he sent me all these different apartments, but a lot of them still didn't take the corporate leases, even though he said they did. Some of them didn't, but I finally found one that said, yeah, we do accept them. And then the ones that I did find that did accept corporate leases, they had all these difficult qualifications for you to have in order to actually get the corporate lease.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you kind of got one to agree, how did the BNB investing program kind of help you through that process, getting everything set up, and did you get anything adjusted or different on the lease, and things like that?
So not adjusted on the lease, but it did help me with what I needed to have in the home for Airbnb, because it's totally different from the rooming house. So it did help me with all the things that I needed to have in the home, the locks, the just the setup, which was really good and helpful for me. Yeah.
Okay. How long did it take you to get it set up?
It took me 3 weeks, but it would have taken me 2 weeks, but I went out of town. I went to Vegas, and I had my daughter to set it up. My daughter and my dad set it up for me to the best that they could until I got back. So that all happened in 2 weeks. And then when I got back, I still noticed that I needed a few things to do. So it took an extra week. So it was 3 weeks for me to set it up.
Okay.
And when I set it up the first time and realized that I didn't have everything that I needed, I was getting bookings like back to back. I think I listed it one day, and maybe like the third day, no, yeah, the second day after I listed it, I had like 3 bookings that I had to cancel because I didn't have everything up to where it needed to be. I didn't think it was gonna happen that fast. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's usually, once you've got the listing pictures done and you've got everything set up and you go live, it's usually within
Mhm.
24 hours that you get your first booking. And so, there's a lot of things you can do in the beginning to kind of maximize your ranking when you first list it. And so we kind
Right.
of walk you through how to do that to make sure that you're going to get that immediate booking. And so, so how has the bookings been since then, since you first got it set up?
I was booked every day. So I listed it. I think I had 2 weeks left in June. I was booked from that point on all the way up until now every day. So what is this, September? So it's kind of like slow, but I'm still getting bookings on the weekends right now. So I'm hoping that I get this last weekend book, but I've got bookings all the way over into October right now.
Okay, very cool. And what's the size of the property?
It's a 2 bedroom, 2 bath.
2 bedroom, 2 bath, and it's in
Mhm.
Midtown Atlanta.
It's off of what is it? Off of Moreland Avenue.
So it's kind of near to Little Five Points over there.
Little 5 Points, right? Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that's a popular
And
area.
East, it's
Um,
it's really in East Atlanta Village. That's where it is.
right, which is kind of just south
Mhm.
of there. Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then so once you got your first booking, how quickly were you able to kind of assemble your cleaning team and your maintenance and kind of all your support functions? Who's handling guest communications and kind of all those pieces?
It took me probably about a couple of weeks. Well, so for the cleaning, we did what you said don't do. We were trying to clean it ourselves, and we finally was like, "This is just too much," because it was the bookings that were like just coming in too much, and we work and everything. So it was like, okay, yeah, we do have to hire somebody. So,
Well, I didn't tell
um,
you not to do it. I just tell you that I like to stay in my own lane and focus
yeah,
on growing the business instead of being a cleaner. So, you let the
yeah,
experts do that and focus on that so you can scale your business. But I didn't tell you not to do
right.
it because there
Well,
are
yeah,
a lot of there are a lot of hosts that are successful doing that, but you can't scale that business, right? If you want to get to 20, 30, 40 units, you're going to just you're just not going to be able to handle doing cleaning as well.
Right. And that was just with my one unit. So I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So it took me probably like a week or two to find somebody and to just kind of, fill that out and get that together and to show them what to do and to make sure that they were doing okay. Because, once you're doing it yourself, you kind of don't trust. At first, you don't trust people to do it and leave it. So I found myself going behind people and like, okay, um, they didn't do this right, they didn't do that right. But I finally found some people that, I can trust and I'm happy with them and it's fine. So
Good,
yeah.
good. And then what about the maintenance? If something goes wrong, who are you calling?
So that's where my significant other comes in place. He is the maintenance person outside of the leasing office. And but the leasing office is very good. They know what I'm doing. So if I call, they are right there. But for the small stuff, we go in like the light bulbs or anything like that, we go in and do that ourselves.
Okay, cool. And then on the guest communications, how are you handling that?
Guesty. We use
Guesty.
that.
So using Guesty as a channel manager that kind of synchronizes your inbox.
Hmm.
You've been able to put the listing on Airbnb, and then you've also placed it on VRBO and Booking.com as well, correct?
Right. Hmm.
Right. So for those of you that, in order to kind of maximize your bookings, it's best to put your listing on multiple platforms. Airbnb, no matter what you do, is going to represent, 70% of your revenue. However, to maximize bookings and kind of fill in the void, if you use what's called a channel manager, you can actually place it to VRBO, Booking.com. There's a few others as well. I'm going to recommend you get on Hopper as well. I've heard some good things about Hopper getting bookings as well. They're finally kind of vamping marketing efforts for their listing platform, and so Guesty basically allows you to make sure that you don't have any double bookings. It's a calendar in one place. It's got an inbox in one place, and so when you're handling or your team is handling guest communications, you've got one spot to go. You're not going to multiple platforms, and then you're being able to synchronize the calendar so that you're not overlapping on your bookings. It also helps with automatic messaging to the guests, and then also communicating to the cleaning staff on when checkouts are happening. So when you do guest communications, is it you handling it? Then you have your daughter as a backup?
Yes. We both, yeah. So, and I have a lot of stuff automated. So, but for the most part, yes. Right now, since I just have one unit, it's just me and her. So a
Okay.
lot of
How's
times
that
she'll
been
answer
going?
for me. Oh,
How's that
that's
been
been
going?
going good. A lot of times she'll answer for me, like if for some reason. So it's been working out really well because she's younger, so she's up sometimes a little later than I am. So if I don't catch it at 1 or 2 o'clock, she's catching it at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. It's like I answered it. I was like, oh, I was asleep. But yeah. So with that being said, we've been able to keep on Airbnb our communication rating. We communicate within an hour. So
Okay.
our response time is within an hour. Hmm.
Right. And so it's critical, obviously, when people, especially when people are trying to ask questions about making a decision on what listing they want to book. If you take a while to respond to those questions, they're going to go off and book somewhere else. And so,
Right.
it's usually important to make sure you've got that coverage. If it's not you doing it, you've got somebody like your daughter to kind of back up when you're not available to handle
Hmm.
that communication. Um, how have your reviews been going so far as you've been getting started?
So the reviews were very slow. Although I was booked every day, I wasn't getting reviews like that. But I've gotten 6 so far, and all but one 5-star rating. But other than that, I've been getting them back to back now. But for some reason, it was taking a while to get reviews.
Yeah, you'll find that most, a lot of times it's probably, I don't know, 50 to 60% of the time, the guests will give you a review. And there's some messaging that you can kind of plug in there to kind of prompt them to do that, and some reminders to let them know how important that is. But, obviously, the response time, the 4.8 or higher review status gets you closer to superhost. And so as long as you kind of keep your eye on both of those things, you get reviewed every 90 days for superhost status.
Mm-hmm.
And so they look at your stats every 90 days. And once you kind of get to that number, 4.8 and above, and your response time, I think it's within 24 hours, but it's probably, obviously we don't want to do that. We want to be much quicker, but and then they also require that you do not cancel on a guest. And so if you have any issues that come up along the way, always try to have the guest cancel, not you cancel. That way you don't get penalized, because it just takes one cancellation for you to be disqualified as a superhost status. And so, and then the other qualifier I think is if you've had a cumulative of 10 stays so far. And so you'll get to that number pretty quickly if you aren't already there. And then, obviously superhost status gets you selected as a higher ranking when people are looking at listings. And then some travelers actually only search off of superhost listings too. So it kind of gives you that additional oomph. So what tell us a little bit about kind of what you're looking to do now. Are you going to be looking at getting more units, or what are your next steps?
Yeah, I would like to get more units. I'm working now to try to get homes through subject to. So I'm working through the REIA with that, Atlanta REIA.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also trying to do co-hosting. And I would like to get some places that are not here, like Jamaica, somewhere like that. Some travel destinations that I would like to see me grow in.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, the subject to opportunities are definitely, with the interest rates being 7% or higher right now, and the market kind of slowing down with people buying properties because they can't get approved for those high rates.
Right.
You've got people that are selling their homes subject to their existing mortgage at a much lower interest rate, 3 or 4% sometimes, or 5% even. And you're basically just buying that property, paying them the difference they have in equity as the down payment, and you take over the monthly payments. And it's a good way, as an investor, basically a good way to gain more properties and be able to be at that lower interest rate as a monthly payment as well. So yeah, that's definitely an interesting way to kind of, especially in this environment, it's going to probably be more and more opportunities like that coming up here in the next year or so as well. And then, so on the co-hosting side, I typically just, my perspective, I don't usually like referring it to as a co-host. I mean, co-hosting is kind of what it is, but there are two different variations of property management, right? There's a professional short-term rental property manager, and then there's more of a casual co-host that's co-hosting other properties because they might have a few properties themselves. But if you want to position it to scale and add more units, and kind of, you being a realtor, I think puts you in front of a lot of opportunities as well, to where you've got investor clients that might seek your expertise on doing the market analysis, understanding that. And so, a part of our program, BNB Investing Program, we actually do a deep dive on how to prospect for management clients, how to do the market analysis, how to help them set up the property. We provide you with the management agreement. And so you basically will be armed with all the information that you need to basically get that initial first client set up. And it's kind of the same thing we try to do with all the lines of business, walk you through step by step on that first client, make sure everything's up and running, and then you can kind of rinse and repeat from there. And so you can definitely grow and add more units quickly, because you're basically, you're using your knowledge to manage other folks' properties, and you're going to basically earn 25% typically of the gross rental revenue. So it's a good way to add more units. The fact that you've already got your own unit set up, you're laying the groundwork for the channel manager. And we haven't talked about the price optimization tool yet, but we'll touch on that in a little bit. But now you basically, as you get a new client, you can kind of onboard them the same way you've done your own property and put it into the same operation, essentially.
Right. And I see on Guesty where you can actually add, like if you're managing another property, you can actually add that property to what you already have. So I thought that was neat. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So you're not, a lot of people don't realize the ease operationally, whether you're doing a master lease or whether you own a property or whether you're managing properties. You can throw it into the same operation where it's all in the same calendar, it's all in the same inbox, and it's all in the same kind of system of records. So that when you do your monthly reporting to your clients, it all comes from that same spot, no matter how many different platforms you're listing on. And so the channel manager really goes a long way to help kind of streamline that process for you. And operationally, again, it doesn't matter if it's your property or if you're managing, it gets thrown into the same mix. And so, when you get up to 50, 60, 70 properties, there's no reason to differentiate your operation other than by market, right? So,
Right.
like you mentioned, if you want to go internationally, we actually have a 2-bedroom condo in Montego Bay, Jamaica, and it's a part of the same guesty channel manager that we have all of our properties. We're looking at adding some more units in the Dominican Republic and in some of the other Caribbean countries as well. But from the way that we kind of view things, it's not much different than if you were to set up your property in the state next door. You got to go through the same process, right? You got to spend that first couple of weeks setting the property up and building your team, and then basically, getting the listing up and running and making sure you've got your boots on the ground team there, your cleaning and maintenance to kind of handle any issues. And so some investors obviously go the route of engaging and paying, if you do it that far away, having another property manager manage it. That's an option too. There are some, if you're looking in Jamaica, I actually know some property managers that don't charge 25%. They actually charge 10% to do short-term
Oh,
rental
wow.
management. And they go way and above and beyond what's typically required, like airport transportation, bringing in cooks to cook meals, and things of that nature they're a little bit of different touch and feel than, kind of in the urban and city markets that we're accustomed to. And so you can definitely adjust what you're doing there when you're looking at international. And then, of course, the beauty of it is once you've got a couple of those different multiple listings set up in those destinations, when you and your family want to go visit, you got somewhere to stay without having to pay for it, right? So
Exactly. That's the benefit. Right.
absolutely, for sure. And so, so besides the channel manager, we didn't touch on it, but we also got you set up with a price optimization tool. There's 3 different ones out there: Price Labs, Wheelhouse, and Beyond Pricing. All 3 of them do very similar things. They kind of do an automatic algorithm so that your pricing adjusts on a nightly basis based on supply and demand. And there's tools that allow you to make adjustments and changes to the minimum night stay versus discounting pricing and things like that. And so something like that tool is critical in order to keep up with making sure you're not putting a price out there that somebody's going to book at a much lower price than what the market is bearing. Like, when Taylor Swift comes into town or large events like the Super Bowl or even just regular football games come into town, you have more of a demand. And so you need to be able to account for that. And so that tool does all that stuff automatically in the background. You can oversee it, but it definitely will help you to be more profitable versus some of the hosts that are just throwing up a price in the beginning and forgetting about it. Right. So that's a key part of the business as well.
Yeah, so I use Price Labs. I'm still trying to learn it, deeper than what I know about it, but I do use Price Labs and it's pretty good. It does the changing of the prices itself. So I like that automatically. And like you said, I just kind of override it sometimes, like when I'm trying to reduce the price to get more listings, or more bookings to come in.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely something that you need to, again, now that you've got that one listing set up with all the tools in place, it's just a matter of adding more and just folding them into the same process, right? So,
Right.
so how are you gonna, or when are you starting to prospect for your management clients? to co-host?
So I was thinking about starting it over the weekend when I started looking at it more. So because I know they have a site called Co-host that you can go on to. I'm already part of Thumbtack. So I just needed to actually just read up on it a little bit more through the modules that you have, and prospect from there.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean,
Mhm.
you're, again, being a realtor, you're going to have, a lot of the real estate meetups, a
Mhm.
lot of the investors that might be fix and flippers that are trying to sell a house and are having a problem doing so, or there might be something unique with the property that doesn't really matter for short-term rentals. Those are all great prospects for, basically proposing to them the short-term rental model so that they can use that as an option to switch over to. And we've had a lot of clients that the other thing too that you'll see in the training is to engage with your real estate network of other realtors, let them know what you're doing, and develop
Mhm.
kind of a referral fee program so that once you get clients referred, you can kind of give them a referral fee for doing that, and then that way you can get more referral business that way as well. We've had real estate agents that have had families that are buying a house in Atlanta, relocating from up in Northeast. They're not
Mhm.
moving down for another year, and so we'll set it up as a short-term rental for that year while they're not here, generating revenue. And so there's different opportunities like that that definitely, being a real estate agent, you'll kind of tap into some of those opportunities for sure.
Okay.
So, what besides the international and the management business, do you have like a number in mind as far as how many listings you're going to set as your goal?
So yeah, for like the first year or within a year or for a year, I would like to have at least 10.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see. All right, we got some spammers putting comments in the chat now. Um, so, so yeah, well, one of the questions we have in the chat actually is what is the name of the manager platform? And so the management platform is called Guesty. And
Mm-hmm.
just like the price optimization tools, there are multiple different channel manager options. There's Hospitable, Hostfully, um, and all of them do very similar things. It's just a matter of personal preference and kind of demoing what each one does. But we used Guesty from the beginning when we first started 8 years ago, and it's a great way to kind of whether you're doing one unit or 100, it can definitely handle the volume, and it's a good tool that allows you to be flexible. Like we've talked about, whether you're doing rental arbitrage or if you're managing or if you are buying properties to put on there, it doesn't really matter. It all gets handled in the same process. Um, okay, so Tameka, I appreciate you taking the time today. Is there
Thank
anything
you.
else that you'd like to share with us about your experience getting this first one set up
Mm,
that we haven't talked about already?
no, I think we covered everything.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, I'll definitely get you back on when you get closer to the 10 unit count, and we can kind of
Okay.
get an update from you then. But thanks again so much for jumping on, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, BNB Investing Group, we kind of help investors get started with short-term rentals. And so if you are ready to take action and start growing a scalable business, feel free to reach out to me via Facebook on a direct messenger, and we can set a quick call to touch base. But Tameka, thanks so much again. You have a good rest of the evening.
You did too.
All
Okay.
right, take
Bye
care.
bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.